Hello, welcome to the Minnesota State IT Center of Excellence Career Readiness Podcast. My name is Chad Eckes. I'm the current manager of Career Readiness Curriculum for the Center and host for today's episode. Today's podcast is the first in a short series focused on the Center's efforts of developing and growing the Career Readiness D2L Modules and their associated digital badges. We'll be covering the definition on career readiness skills, the issues students face in developing those skills, and the efforts being taken by the Center of Excellence to help improve student career readiness. To help me cover these topics, I'm joined today by the Executive Director of the Center, Wilson Garland, as well as the Director of Academic Initiatives, Janice Aanenson. Hi, Wilson and Janice.
Hello, Chad.
Hi. Thanks for your time today. To kick things off and get our discussion going, Wilson, could you just start by giving our listeners a little background on the IT Center of Excellence?
Absolutely. So the IT Center of Excellence is one of 8 centers of excellence that are part of the Minnesota State system. And each center focuses on a different industry sector where the state determined at the time that they were founded that there was a critical workforce need or talent shortage. And so the IT Center of Excellence was one of the first that was founded, and it's been around for almost 12 years. But it also is one of the areas where we all know is a continual area of focus from a talent development perspective. There's always more IT jobs out there than there are people to fill them. And so that's a critical need for us as a system and also as a state.
Yeah, absolutely. And you've been the Executive Director for how long again?
I've been here for about 3.5 years. And as a center, we really focus on 3 areas. One is recruiting more students to be part of the IT profession. So we work to engage students at the high school level as well as the college level who are already in college but looking to specialize and get trained in IT professions. The second thing we do is we work with faculty and staff across the Minnesota State system of 37 colleges and universities to help build and support and maintain their programs that are IT related. And we do that through things like we're going to talk about today, like the Career Readiness modules, as well as some curriculum modules in cybersecurity and data science and software development and Agile and so on. And we also, then the third thing we do is really to engage with employers and try and serve as sort of a single point of contact for employers when they're looking to engage with the broader Minnesota State system.
Right. And again, isn't it part of the mission? I read this on the website, but engaging industry, inspiring students, and enhancing IT education, right? That really
sums up those 3 areas.
Yep. Awesome. Now, Janice, could you quickly introduce yourself and your role with the center?
Sure. My name is Janice Aanenson, and I'm the Director of Academic Initiatives at the center. And my concentration really is with a lot of the career readiness groups that you're talking about, the industry, the faculty, and the students. So my role really is to find ways to help or assist them in collaborative efforts. So it could be industry to faculty, it could be faculty with students, it could be students to student peer events. So I do a lot of competitions, I do a lot of events where I bring in faculty, I bring in industry, or I bring in students, speakers, and such, just to make sure everyone kind of gets a way or has a way to better communicate with each other and find ways to collaborate as we're moving forward in the IT world.
Great. Well, it sounds like you'd have a lot of fun doing your job. You get to work with, students, faculty, and folks from industry. So
yes, I do.
Fantastic. Well, let's dive into the topic of the podcast today around the career readiness modules and badges. Wilson, why don't I start with you? Just tell the audience, what does the center mean, or what do we all mean by career readiness, that term?
Sure. Well, often we are talking with employers about what they need from students and graduates who are coming out of Minnesota State institutions with a degree in IT or something technology related. And what we often hear from employers is that they expect the students coming out of a technology program to have the technical skills, but they also need them to have the non-technical skills. And as all of our listeners are probably aware, as the move is more towards technology, more towards sort of knowledge-based professions and job responsibilities, there's more and more of a need for students to be prepared in skills that are related to communication, collaboration, taking responsibility for their work, a lot of the critical thinking skills and other things that are really essential for people in today's economy to have some proficiency with. So when we talk about career readiness skills, we're really talking about those non-technical skills that people need to be successful in an IT career. Often people historically have thought of those as skills you get in a general education curriculum, and they certainly are. But I think one of the things that we've recognized is that there's a need to have those same skills embedded within the curriculum, even the technical part of the curriculum.
Yeah.
And particularly, a lot of faculty are taking what we would consider sort of problem-based or project-based approaches to teaching the technology. And so as part of that, when you're doing a project, you need to be able to work with your team. You need to be able to communicate with people about your work and other things like that. So it's a natural fit to have these career readiness skills kind of embedded within the technology or IT curriculum.
Yeah, sure. And Janice, do you hear this? Do you hear similar things in your, in your duties, with employers or even from faculty, and in terms of, students' prowess or needs for these sort of skills? Like, what are you hearing?
Yeah, I do. I hear the same things of what Wilson was talking about. I think right now we're running into even a bigger, maybe concern, but we have a large number of baby boomers that are currently retiring or about ready to retire, and the industry is getting a little bit nervous about who's taking over for those folks. And, the kind of the older generation maybe has a few, or I should say a lot more experience in some of these career readiness or the soft skills, how to communicate with folks, or even how to work in a team. So I think it's very critical for us to be part of the solution, where we can bring in some of these skills that a lot of folks who have worked in the industry already have, but are being replaced by the new folks once they retire. And you don't want to lose any of that great momentum that has been started. So these career readiness skills really help students not only learn the industry, but become part of the culture of the industry. And to me, I think that's the one word that sticks out from all industry that I talk to is, can this person be part of who we are? Do they have the heart of who we are? Do they have the culture of who we are? So it's extremely important, I think, to continue to expand what we're starting and what we're seeing to meet this need in the industry.
Yeah, very, very pertinent, very cool. And so I've been involved with this effort for, going on a year and a half, maybe 2 years. And I came on board and was asked to, validate and even confirm a lot of the things that both of you had heard from employers. I actually talked to, a handful of faculty around Minnesota State to get their perceptions on the students' readiness, their career readiness, particularly in things like teamwork and leadership and communications. And what I heard from faculty was similar to what I think both of you've heard from employers, is that, the need for these skills is high, and that we could be doing a little bit better job of helping students, be ready and be prepared for their careers in these types of skills. So I was going to ask maybe you, Janice, if we go back to, even before I started, but certainly along the timeline, what has the center been doing to try to address, this challenge, or to take this opportunity to help students, improve their career readiness skills?
Yeah, this isn't brand new. I think all of us have kind of seen this coming over the past 10, 15 years in education, where we really are looking at, we get industries that say, we can teach anybody how to do the technical skills, but we have a hard time teaching them how to do some of those career readiness or soft skills. So I think this isn't new for us as much as how do we showcase how we do this instead of just telling somebody that they need to do it. And I think there's a difference in that. So if you tell folks you need to be able to communicate and you need to be able to work in a team and you need to be able to take initiative, that's one thing. But what I like to see is let's have some practice sessions. Let's do some hands-on. So when I look at running student events or any type of student event or even a faculty event, my whole focus really gets to be around, can we do it in a team environment? Can we do it where leadership skills are available? Can we do it where communication is a key focus area? So we're working in cybersecurity or data for data derby. All of them have a component within each of those career readiness skills so that the students are actually able to practice what we are trying to teach them how to do. We do the same thing for faculty development as well. So we don't just have an online course or an online program where you just go and do something. We actually bring them in. We actually set them around tables. We actually show them how to not only work together, but how to bring this kind of learning into their classroom so that they can do more project-based classroom projects for students, that they can participate more in student events with this idea that communication is important or initiative is important. So I think as long as we always keep these types of ideas in our head as we're arranging things, so it's just not an event, it's actually a very career readiness focused event. And then the technical side is just the avenue we play in.
Yeah, sure.
And I think that's really one of the keys that you hit on there, Janice, which is, as you talked about kind of at the top of the podcast, a lot of what we do as the center and a lot of what you do in academic initiatives is related to, what I would call co-curricular or extracurricular events and activities where the intent really is to have students be able to put into practice what they do in a real world type situation, whether it's data derby, where they're competing to solve a data challenge, or the collegiate cyber defense competition where they're working as a team to defend a network, those kinds of things. But I think what's different about the career readiness modules and badges is we've recognized the need to take that same approach into the classroom. And by, putting together these modules, with the help of faculty, we're really intending for us to make it easier for faculty to incorporate these sorts of activities and skills within the technical course room.
Right. And yeah. I think, and just to build on that, because, my involvement has been pretty much focused on the career readiness modules themselves, both kind of, envisioning them, putting them into, pilots, working with both of you and others across the system to put them to the test, revise them. What I've seen as a super big value of those modules is just like you said, that the fact that they can be put into an existing technical course, not take up a whole bunch of time, but still enable the practice and the learning and the actual, exhibiting of those skills versus, say just reading a book on leadership or reading a short article or watching a YouTube video. There are those aspects to it, but it's really about the exercises that you do either on your own or with your peers, as well as the actual assignments where the faculty member is going to, assess your work, right? Yeah. What about, as we have our listeners here, some of which might be faculty, what would we tell them about the value of these modules to them? Not just their students, of course, but, why are the modules valuable to them? What do we say to that? Either of you want to take that?
Yeah, I could take this a little bit too. I think when I hear back from faculty, what they love about using these career modules and just the whole concept of it is, we talk about industry needs, but there is also something that faculty need and higher education needs. And the more students that come prepared within their classes, within the student groups, the student clubs, all of those are opportunities that faculty know are extremely important for our students. So when they see us being able to offer them the career readiness modules or even the badging modules where they can kind of showcase what they do. Faculty are getting really excited about that because it validates what they've been saying and what they they spend extra time advising student clubs and things just for this main reason. So I think faculty are really starting to see that we care about what they're saying, what they have, what they're teaching, and it gives them another opportunity just to bring in that real life into their course room, and faculty just love that idea.
Yeah, and I think it's a real challenge in a lot of these technical disciplines in particular to fit everything in, right?
Yeah.
Right.
I think we're always looking to say, okay, well, how can we incorporate all the new thinking around cybersecurity or data science or networking or software development into whatever the courses that people are working on, and often the soft skills are things that are hard to fit, right? I mean, they're sort of in context, but they're not really explicitly dealt with. And so I think the faculty that I've talked to that are excited about this, really, there's an opportunity to make the learning of some of these skills more explicit, but in the context of what they're doing in the class. And as a result, we don't have to have a separate class just on teaching soft skills. It really can be embedded. And yes, it is a little extra work for faculty and for students, but it helps to reinforce that learning at the point where it can be most useful, which is in the context of what they're doing for their class.
Yeah. What I've seen a lot in the pilots we've had over the last couple semesters is in courses where the students have to work on a team project, the faculty members are using the collaboration and teamwork module.
Yeah.
Right, because that it introduces them to the vocabulary of teamwork, how to work well in a team, how to set up a team, how to get to know each other, but then also incorporates skills like how to listen to others and how to incorporate everybody's perspective, diverse perspectives, right? So what's neat about that is, again, these classes have probably had team projects for a decade or more, right?
Yeah.
Whether it's software engineering, networking, cyber. But now the faculty member and students can get this, actual structure to learning about and improving their abilities to work on a team. So it'll be interesting to see how, the feedback that comes back from students and faculty this semester in a bunch of those courses to see if the modules, really move the needle. I think it will.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of energy around it. But that's just, I think, one example. There's another example where it's a course on business systems innovation, and the module being used is leadership and initiative. And again, it fits in really nicely with that because students have to think about an innovation in the workplace or in the IT space and then present that and sort of promote it, right?
Yeah.
So the whole initiative and leadership theme comes into that, I think.
Yeah.
So it's a nice combination.
And this is potentially a topic for a future podcast, but I think one of the exciting things too in the way that these modules have been built, and you'll probably talk a little bit more about the components of the module, but there are opportunities for students to present and use video to capture themselves presenting, which sounds a little bit scary probably for some of the students, but I think when you look at sort of the science of teaching and learning and how deep learning happens, using video in that way is a way for students to practice in an authentic way a skill that's maybe difficult for them. And it's in a safe environment because they can practice as many times as they want before sharing it and so on. So I think there's really some exciting things about, how these modules use video and some of the things we know about teaching and learning to really reinforce these skills in a way that's relevant for students.
Yeah, so now would be a good time just for me or all of us to explain to those listeners who don't understand or haven't seen or heard about the modules very much. We'll just kind of give you a taxonomy of a module. Again, these are modules built natively in Desire to Learn, Brightspace, so you can put them in your course very easily. each module comes with 4 or 5 learning objectives. So things like listen actively, or how to write a good email, or how to incorporate diverse perspectives, things like that. And in each learning objective, there's going to be, anywhere from, 5 to maybe 15 minutes of reading articles, reviewing videos, and then there's going to be a practice exercise. As Wilson was describing, sometimes it's something you do on your own, sometimes you might work with a peer or a classmate. And then there's a final assignment in each learning objective, which again is often some sort of written or video assignment, because again, with these skills, we're really looking to have the student practice them and not just read about them. So it might be, take a 1-minute video recording of yourself giving a short elevator pitch on an idea you have, or do a 3-minute recording of you listening to somebody talk to you about a conflict or a problem they're having. So those assignments then, whether it's a video or written assignment, those all get posted into D2L by the student for the faculty member to review, and each assignment comes with a rubric that's going to have anywhere from 5 to 8 criteria already defined in terms of what you should be looking for, what the faculty should be looking for, as far as what's a good assignment versus an assignment that needs to have work done on it or isn't quite there yet. So we've tried to be thoughtful and also consistent in how we present the content in the modules, both by keeping the structure the same, but also, again, in really enforcing and reinforcing the need for practice by doing writing or by doing video assignments or things like that. Do either of you want to call anything else out about the modules themselves? Because then we'll probably move into talking about badges.
Yeah, I guess the only thing I would say, just kind of quickly, is that, it sounds like a lot of content and a lot of work. What's exciting is that we've been able to build these modules largely based on some content and practice and assignments and so on that were created by an organization called Education Design Labs. And they worked with, half a dozen different institutions and faculty to really come up with really innovative ways to teach about these skills. And they call them 21st century skills instead of career readiness skills, but they're the same sorts of dispositional type skills that you would need students to have. So we've been able to take their content but put it into an IT student context, which I think is really important. And we talked a little bit about the importance of fitting it within the context of the course or the context of the discipline. And so I think what we've been able to do with these modules is really to do that, take really industry-leading content that's related to developing these skills and put it in the context of IT.
Yeah. No, that's actually a great transition into the talk about badges, because we wanted to broach that subject as well. Because at the Education Design Lab, as you mentioned, they created this great content, and they actually have 8 key skills that they have content for, but they also created digital badges for each of them. Let's talk a little bit about badges and just maybe give us a perspective on digital badges, where they've been, where we see them going. Maybe Wilson kind of start talking about that, if that's okay.
Sure. Digital badges have been around what seems like for a long time now, and they've been used in a lot of places, particularly within industry, to sort of recognize learning and training that happens in a variety of different areas and different industries. I think what we really see as gaining momentum today is that higher ed institutions are seeing it as a way of recognizing competencies or skills that are perhaps embedded within programs, but aren't really the subject of the program. So, in this case, we're talking about career readiness skills that absolutely are taught in some of these more technical courses, but employers don't really know whether students are proficient in some of these skills. And so by offering a badge, it's sort of a micro-credential that signals to employers, signals to the students that they're able to be recognized for achieving a certain level of competence in some of these skills. So I think that's what's exciting about digital badging, and you know, we could have a whole separate podcast on digital badging and sort of how you know, some institutions are using them as standalone programs. Others are building them into more stackable credentials and things like that. We're not really taking a position on that with this program. It's more, we see an opportunity to take some critical skills that employers know and can recognize and associate some sort of credential or digital badge with it, so that students can be recognized for attaining these skills and signal to employers that they have these skills.
Yeah, yeah. And I mean, to that point, I mean, again, the belief that they're a great signal for employers, but also a motivational, something that motivates a student as well, right? And Janice, I was wondering, you know, with all of your work with students and, you know, various events and the things that you do, are you hearing from students, you know, sort of their excitement about badges or what they see the benefits of badging? You know, what's their perspective?
Yeah, and maybe not so much from the students, but the work that they're doing, and just going off of their resumes and seeing the change in resumes over the last 4 years, from being very wordy 4 years ago to now being very visual, with badges or competencies or masteries or something of the sort listed on resumes. So they're starting to see that this is how the world works, and this is stuff that employers want to see, and it's items that look good and make them stand out in a crowd. So it's been fun to see students kind of embrace the idea without us even kind of pushing the idea on them, that they understand the importance of showcasing themselves through some sort of a visual. And I think that's what the badging really does. I kind of consider badging, from my perspective, we don't usually use badges, but we do use stickers. We do laptop stickers for events. And it's the first thing to go. I mean, everybody wants that badge to put on their laptop or to put in their backpack or something to showcase that they were there, that they participated and they were part of it. So this digital badging just really takes that to that next level, where they can put it on their LinkedIn and they can put it on their resume and they can put it on their personal sites as really, you know, kind of that honor of saying, yes, I participated, I showed up. And I think that's what I hear from students.
Yeah, no, I totally understand the sticker on the laptop metaphor, because I've got 2 boys in school that also love to put stickers on their laptop. I don't have any on mine, but maybe I should start that practice. So yeah, I mean, again, just quickly, my perspective in observing, you know, our rollout of the modules, and now just this semester here, you know, spring of 2020, you know, I definitely see a lot of interest in the badges, both, you know, from faculty, and so they're reflecting the interest from their students, right? Because the students want to be able to showcase those skills and differentiate themselves, and the faculty want that for them as much or more, right? Because, you know, they're so bought in and so passionate about, you know, not just what they're teaching, but improving their students' capabilities and their prospects for, you know, a happy career. So, you know, it's great to see the momentum that we have. There's still a long way to go. Let's talk a little bit quickly about how faculty can just, you know, there are a lot of faculty out there who probably haven't, again, heard of the modules, or they haven't really tried them out yet, and they certainly, you know, therefore haven't tried the badges. Let's talk a little about how they can get started, so that they, you know, have an idea after this podcast, you know, what to do next. What's our action item for them? Wilson, you want to start with that?
Yeah, well, I guess I'd probably throw it back to you and say,
sure.
You know, this is sort of what you've been focused on, which is how do we engage faculty and help faculty make the most use of the modules and the badging.
Yeah, so I'll definitely go with that. So the modules, you know, for those of you who don't know, they're free. There's no cost to using these modules. The Center of Excellence has built them and will continue to maintain them for a very long time. We have 3 modules now, and they're associated 3 badges, and we hope to grow that to 8 sometime this year. Essentially, faculty just need to get in touch with us. We have a web page where you can come and let us know you're interested in the modules. We'll get you a link to be able to access those modules. You have to download them to your computer and then upload them into D2L, like into a shell course. And then you can see them, you can edit them, you can change them, and then make them your own, right? You can take all of a module, put it in your course. You can take multiple modules. You can just take 1 or 2 learning objectives from a module and put them into your course. And again, we're trying to make it very plug and play and easy for you. When it comes to the badges, there's a little bit more effort involved, just because what constitutes a badge in the world is that the student is going to get another online site that they store all of their badges in. It's called a backpack, like a badging backpack. And so the faculty member would have to essentially award the badges to students into their backpack. And there's some technical details with that, but it's really not too much of a hurdle for a faculty member or anybody at an institution to essentially upload these badges, these digital badges, into student accounts. So that really is the extent of that. But I think, when faculty ask me, how do we get badging going? How do we do this? What I often tell them is, you have to make sure that students are taking the work seriously, and you are going to have to evaluate their work and come up with a way to kind of have a pass-fail on that work, because we can't just give out badges to everybody who, makes a feeble attempt at improving their listening or their communication skills. So what I've seen faculty doing is, giving points to the parts of the module, like their assignments and exercises, and then having some sort of hurdle to clear, like, a 70% completion rate or 80% completion rate in order to earn a badge.
Based on the rubrics.
Based on the rubrics, right. So, there might be, 5 criteria in a rubric, and each one is worth 5 points, and they have to achieve, they have to achieve 80% of the points on the rubric or something like that. So, and we're piloting this this semester at 4 different campuses with 6 different faculty. What works well, what doesn't work well with the modules and the badges. So we'll have more to share with that later in the year to help other faculty adopt them and not make not encounter the same hiccups that we might be encountering in this pilot. But that's kind of the summary of how to incorporate badges. Again, there is some work involved for faculty or folks in their department to issue the badges and put them out on the student's backpack website. But otherwise, probably the bigger effort is just understanding the modules and how they can work in your course, and then incorporating the learning objectives and the module into your course. The badging piece at the end of the course, the module, is probably the a little extra effort. Janice or Wilson, anything you'd add to that?
This is Janice. Yeah, I just would like to kind of do a selfless plug on inviting any faculty to come to the New Directions Conference in May, where we have a faculty conference through the center. And I believe one of the breakout sessions and keynotes will be around badging and the importance of badging and the importance of digital badging and the career readiness skills. So it'd be a great opportunity if you wanted to learn more and have some hands-on time with the folks who are creating these things. Come and join us and let us know that you're interested, and we'll send you out information.
Yeah, no, that's a great plug, and I was at the conference last year, and it was fantastic. We had great participation and interest in all the topics, including the career readiness modules, and the input from faculty that we received last year, really helped shape some of the modules, as well as how we rolled them out and how we have helped faculty throughout the year understand them and learn about them and adopt them. So that's great. That's great. Last question, and maybe, this is very crystal ballish, Janice, but, do you have a sense for what the future looks like from the center in terms of career readiness and badging? Any forecasts or, dreams for us?
Yeah, I guess my dream is that all students go through it and take these classes and these modules, not because they need to, but because they want to, and because it is such a career motivator if they can see the impact of having these types of skills. That to me is my ultimate goal, is for students to understand the importance of knowing these things, of practicing early, because the types of positions they are going to be put in once they get into the industry absolutely demand that they know how to communicate, that they know how to take responsibility, that they know how to take initiative, that they can lead a team. All of those are absolutely critical for their success. So the more that we can get the word out, the more students participate. Like I said, I've been seeing the change over the last few years just from students who have taken some of these classes. The feedback that I get about how important communication is, and how glad that they were able to be part of the pilot when we were doing the pilot way for this. So those types of communications are coming out. Those types of talk is coming out. So I think students are starting to see it. And my future ball is, let's get more.
Great. No, that's a good way to kind of wrap things up here. We've had a great conversation about this, and we hope our listeners are more informed and that they're ready to take some action. Again, get in touch with the Center of Excellence, visit our website, find the Career Readiness page. There's a form you can fill out for us to initiate sending you copies of the modules or getting you more information, or call us up here at the center and have a conversation with one of us, and you can learn more. But that kind of does it for this episode of our Career Readiness podcast, first in the series. Thanks everyone for listening and for supporting our mission. Again, that mission is to engage industry, inspire students, and enhance IT education to build a more robust technology workforce in Minnesota. Thanks and have a great day.
Thanks, Chad.
Thanks, Chad.